about it when we're talking about the 5-pointed star, the 6-pointed star. The evildoers, or those in the so-called black magic, really don't have no symbols. The evildoers don't have no symbols. The devil don't have nothing. All he has is suggestion and a thought. Right? All he sows is a thought, and either you believe it or you accept it as true. Therefore, you water that thought. You help that thought germinate. Either you accept it or you deny it. Either you affirm it or you deny it. Right? And if you are like on the fence, it's like silence implies consent. It goes into that. Now, I'm doing this video right here to just touch on another big lie. Another big lie out there is that the so-called hexagram, the so-called Star of David, I say so-called Star of David, is the Star of Molech. And I've looked over a lot of this so-called research and what people have said, and the most that I can say about it is it's very speculative. Of course, some people write about it and say, this is what it is, and it must be that. And so there's scribes and there's Pharisees. And the pen of the scribes is lying. But it's very clear just looking at which symbols they use for what, right? Like the Jews, for example, the so-called Jews, the European Jews, right? And the so-called Star of David. All right, let's go over here, right? The European Jews and the Star of David, or the Star of David and the European Jews. Right, now I have the Ethiopian Star of David. Before the European Jews, right, were even pretending to be Jews or going about calling themselves Jews, this symbol was used by the true tribe of Yehuda, by the true tribe of Judah. I know from a Western Gentile state of mind, that's hard to believe or hard to accept as true, because you've been limited to Western Gentile state of mind. And so whenever they speak about Ethiopia, or whenever they speak about the Lion of the tribe of Judah, Haile Selassie, they always imply doubt. Well, of course, they're trying to keep you in the matrix. They're trying to keep you, they're trying to keep you in Babylon, keep you in confusion, right? Even though there's more proof and evidence, right? Ancient proof and evidence for the Ethiopian claims, for the claims of Haile Selassie, than for the claims of all of the Antichrist all put together and all the things that they assert all together. Now, as far as the European Jews or the Ashkenazi Jews, they adopted this symbol, I think in the, 17, some different research says different times, but post 1492. Right? They adopted these particular, symbols, right? But no symbol in and of itself, right? No symbol in and of itself is good or evil. And the evildoers in the black and occult, black magic, or whatever they want to call it, what they call black magic, right, is reversal, is about reversal. Is about taking the things of the good and twisting them and flipping them and slandering them and turning them upside down on its head. It's mocking, right? Remember what the one they call Lucifer, according to the King James translation? I will ascend to the heavens. I will be like the Most High. I will. And that's what they say, the law of Thelema. Thelema means will in Greek. Right? Do what thou wilt shall be all of the law. The law of what? The law of sin and death. The preacher Paul teaches us about that right there. So this symbol, right? This symbol has been co-opted. This symbol has been, just like everything else. I actually like to use this example of water, right? Look, water one time was the most refreshing drink, the purest thing on water. That symbol of water, even the Moshiach speaks about water, the living water, right? Using water as an example, right? But what has happened with water? They put fluoride in the water, right? They put bromine and other halogens in the water, right? To do what? To corrupt and to pollute the water. So does that make water evil now? Or do they toxify it by adding something to it that never belonged in it to begin with it. So ones are using these symbols, which they never had a right to use to begin with. They have stolen, co-opted, right? And in the hearts and the minds of many people have made them to believe a lie. That's why he says that his name is continually blasphemed, that his way, the way of truth, is evil spoken of. So when we're talking about the Star of Jacob, really it's the Star of Jacob. Right? People say Star of David, but really it's the Star of Yaakov. They said, no, it can't be because somebody later on, after the time, right, after the time, took these symbols, like they take the cross, for example. Don't they take the cross, right? They take the cross and they flip it upside down, right? They call white black and black white. They call good evil and evil good. They call left right and right left, right? Can you not see, right? Can you see and perceive? Can you hear and comprehend what thus saith the Spirit of truth to the churches, to those who have been called out of Babylon, right? Out of confusion. This is our symbol, brothers and sisters, right? You know, these are our symbols. These are the symbols of our ancestors. These are our symbols, right? These are our symbols that we lost, just as the lost sheep lost their name, right? And it says that he who was like very in the curses for disobedience, he was very low among you, right, will rise up very high above you. Why? Because that is the punishment for the disobedience of the lost sheep of the house of Israel. So many things that were our symbols have been taken from us, or we lost. Because remember, the Israelites, they were going after the Star of Molech. Well, what is the Star of Molech? Right? Let's touch on that right there. These are some very important. This is in the Brooklyn Museum. These are some very ancient symbols. Right? And people say, well, just because they're ancient doesn't make them right. Well, you're correct. So we judge a tree by its fruit. Should we judge the Ethiopian Hebrew tree, right, by its fruit? Let's look into the roots, the half of the story that you're not told from this Western Gentile state of mind, this Western Gentile state of mind. So there's a lot of ones that are running around saying that, oh, the 6-pointed star, the hexagram is evil and it's a star of Molech. Do you even know what Molech is? I mean, really now. I mean, do you really know? Let's look at the hexagram in nature for a moment, right? Let's look at the hexagram in nature. Let's see if we can bring this up right here in a couple of minutes we have. The hexagram is found throughout nature, right? The Creator created these shapes and these symbols within creation, right? Fallen man has misused these shapes and symbols, right? Under the deception of the enemy. Right. So these shapes exist in nature, like the snowflakes. Let's bring this up. Like you have the snowflakes and the crystals. Right. You have, even when you look at the hexagonal inner, you have the beehive. Right. Throughout nature, these are creation symbols. Now, this doesn't mean that we don't worship these symbols. See, that's where the evildoers go wrong. You don't worship these symbols. Right? This is like mathematics. If somebody has $1 billion and they use $1 billion evil, is having $1 billion evil? I mean, just in principle. No, it's not. Right? But to he who thinks evil of it, as a man thinketh in his heart, right? So is he. This is also kind of interesting right here. The different applications of these particular symbols. This is just science, my brothers and sisters. Science is knowledge. Right? Knowledge without the Spirit of God, without the Spirit of Elohim, the true power, can be used for evil. Right? Knowledge with the Spirit, right, of the Almighty can be used and is used for good. Right? So you have to really judge the tree by its fruit. It might look like, you remember the fig tree? Christ went to that fig tree and it looked like the other tree, it looked like a fig tree, but it didn't have no fruit. Right. So many use this symbol and say that they are Jews, but you know what? They don't have any fruit. Right. They don't have the real fruit right, that the master, the Moshiach, says. I'm going to touch on this a little bit more, but I had a couple of minutes here, and I wanted to just kind of rebuke these lies, man. I'm like, wow, people really just go for that. It's like they just believe anything, right? The real star of Molech, this is the star of Molech. You've been seeing the star of Molech, which is the inversion of the 5-pointed star. The inversion, and see, that proves the point right there again. The 5-pointed star, right side up, right, is the star of female, of the feminine forces of nature, the creational forces of nature, right? And we have from the 6-pointed star a mathematical sigil of gods of the Almighty, Elohim, the powers, right? His geometry, the geometry of creation. Now, this doesn't mean that we worship creation. No, we worship the Creator. But let me just share this with you for a moment as we about to wrap up. We got a couple more minutes right here. So let me choose one of these right here as a screensaver. Let's choose this one right here. Let's choose this one. I want to read to you a little bit on Molech. Who is Molech? Now, Molech, because they always tell you about Molech, but they don't really go into, well, who is Molech? Oh, Molech was one of the false so-called gods. Okay, but who is Molech? Right? What does Molech mean? Right? What does Molech mean? Right? Let's go into this right here. Okay, this is good. This is good because this is nice, and so you can see it. All right. So let me just share this. It's from the Metaphysical Bible Dictionary. I know some people are like, oh, metaphysical. Yeah, okay. Because they want to stay on the physical, right? Molech is a corruption of the Hebrew Melech. Molech is a corruption of the Hebrew Melech. That tells you a lot. That should tell you a lot right there. So Molech, right, is a corruption of the Hebrew Melech. Melech, right? Melech means king in the Hebrew. In the biblical Hebrew, Melech means king. Now, in a corruption of that word, we have Molech. It's like we have Mengistu Haile Mariam. Some of the Ethiopian Hebrews, they refer to him as Mangustu. Instead of Mengistu, because Mengist mean kingdom, instead of saying Mengistu, they say Mongoose. So it's like, instead of saying Melech, right, they say Molech, right? Moloch, right? Moloch or Molech, right? So you're over that right there. So we have, even in the name of Molech, we have a corruption of another Hebrew word, right? Another Hebrew word, which means king, right? So in the corrupting of that word, so it shows that as the name represents a corruption, right? So does the deeds of those who serve that Moloch, right? That Moloch. Sound like the, what was that movie where they had the people under the ground and everything like that? They had some of these people under the ground and stuff like that. I forget the name of that movie. Some of you might remember Time Machine or something like that. And the Molochs, right, who were the under the ground people, the underground, right? So we have Moloch, corruption of the Hebrew Melech, right? Like we have Melchizedek, right? Means king, ruler, counselor, judge. Moloch or Molech, right, was the national god of the Ammonites. Remember who the Ammonites were? The Ammonites were the children of Ammon, and Ammon's brother was Moab, right? And these were the children that were begotten by the incest of the daughters of Lot, right? Lot, and they got the father drunk and had children, and they were the ones who escaped out of Sodom and Gomorrah. So see this connection here. It's very interesting, right? So the national god of the Ammonites' children, right, were sacrificed. The children were sacrificed in the fire, right? Both the literal fire and the figurative spiritual fire, psychological as well, to Moloch. We have Leviticus 18:21, Leviticus 22:5, and 1 Kings 11:7. Now, another name for this false god is Malcham. Malcham, right? We have Malcham is another name for this god, Now remember, they take the names, the evildoers, and they tell you this in the occult and black magic, so-called. They take the names and they invert. It's about inversion. Take the good and invert it. Take good water and pollute it. Take the earth and pollute it. Take humanity and corrupt it. You know, right? The ruling of public opinion, metaphysically, is what Molech means. So see, they've been able to corrupt public opinion to make you believe a lie. And this is where they derive their power from. And even a lot of the do-gooders who are out there trying to put out what they believe is true, they are contributing to that because they're limited to the Western Gentile state of mind. And they refuse I report. The ruling of public opinion and the mind of the flesh in one's consciousness is what Moloch metaphysically, spiritually means. Children's being sacrificed in the fire to this false power, this false god, signifies one's mentally burning and destroying new ideas. Half of the story that hasn't been told being revealed, they want to destroy new ideas by letting fear of or deep regard for what other persons may think. That's public opinion, with the prejudices, the customs, and desires of the outer man, of the flesh, the carnal mind, rule in one's life to the extent that one refuses or neglects to give place and expression to these new and these higher ideas. Right? To the new and high ideas is what Molech signifies. But just to sum this up right here, seeing that we're a little bit on overtime right here, a little bit on overdrive, right? The so-called 6-pointed star is not the star of Molech. It's the 5-pointed star. It's the so-called it's the inverted pentagram, right? It's the inverted pentagram.